Hi everybody, this is the Prospect Type, and of course, let me know what you think about this video and hit the subscribe button before we get started and watch the entirety of this video. I guess a couple weeks ago we did some top 50 prospects. We went through 50 through 47, 50 to 46, excuse me. Now we're going to go down to 45 through 41. This is not my assessment. I'm not giving credit to the person that that has a website here, because this person has blocked me on YouTube, on X, and there's no reason to. Since I always give everybody credit when I read these different scan reports, I'm not going to do this with this individual. That's his own fault. So if anybody complains, put the blame on him. Back to round 2, the top 50 Mets prospects for the 26th season. First group, 50 to 46, was mainly older players with lower floors, but have already made their big league debuts or are close to helping the Mets at the major league level. This group, however, is more about looking at young players in the Mets system you may not be familiar with, but will be important to keep an eye on in 2026. At number 45, right-handed pitcher Yordan Rodriguez, right-handed pitcher. Mets picked him up for Jeff McNeil. Some folks saw the trade of Jeff McNeil to the Athletics as a salary dump, but while the Mets did save money, they also received a legit prospect in return. The Mets were one of the teams that scouted and liked Rodriguez before he signed with the A's for a $400,000 signing bonus. Rodriguez is a pretty big kid at 6'3", and already he's got good extension. The 18-year-old has added velocity since he signed with the A's, topping out at 97 his pro debut in the Dominican Winter League. He's also features a breaking ball that looks more like a sweeper some days and more like a slider on others, which with plus spin. His 31.7% strikeout rate percentage would have ranked number 1 among Mets pitchers in the Dominican Summer League last year. Interesting statistic. Now, of course, hit the subscribe button. At number 44, Nate Lavender. We've heard of him. He's back. Lavender's a new and old face at the same time. He was taken by the Braves with the 8th pick in the 2024 Rule 5 draft, despite Tampa knowing he could miss the entire season on an internal brace procedure on his left elbow. The former 14th round pick that pitched in 25 was returned back to the Mets in November. The writer was hesitant to include him on this list until I found out he was thrown in Port St. Lucie. When Lavender got injured, he was right on the cusp of potentially making his major league debut, as he found some success with AAA Syracuse. He pitched in 35 games for Syracuse to finish out the 23 season, and then 5 more before his injury in 2024. In that time, he had a 3.35 ERA and a whopping 76 strikeouts and 51 AAA innings. Walks were high with 30, but he limited opponents to only 40 hits. Pre-injury, Lavender was 92 to 90 miles per hour on his four-seamer that plays up because he gets plus extension and has deceptive delivery. The secondaries are primarily a slider and changer, but he throws his fastball about 65-70% of the time. If he's thrown like he was before the injury, the writer expects we see him at some point this year in the Mets bullpen. For his career in the minors, he has struck out 174 batters and 115 2/3 innings. Now, he's primarily a reliever, but he has to throw strikes. I did plenty of videos on him when the Mets drafted him and the time that he was here the first time around. But he has got to throw strikes. First thing you got to see him be is healthy. Because right before he got hurt in 2024, it looked like he was going to make the team right after spring training. The Mets were in the season sometime in May and June, and then he got hurt in April, unfortunately. But he has to be healthy and he has to throw strikes. He's a pretty good option in the bullpen. At number 43, an outfielder, Cleaner Ramirez. It's a new name. They just drafted him. Well, Wandy Azagan is rightfully the most talked about player in the Mets 2026 IFA class, as a national free agent class. The Mets think they got a talented young outfielder in Cleaner Ramirez for a $1.372 million signing bonus. He's known for being athletic and strong while possessing above-average speed and arm strength. His potential to stick long-term in center field, and he does have some experience playing in the infield. 17-year-old Ramirez is expected to make his pro debut in the DSL, that's Dominican Summer League, later this year. And number 42, Junior Amparo, a utility player, and I think I've talked about him a little bit. Judging players from a statistical standpoint, the DSL is mostly a fruitless endeavor. The competition level there is mostly a group of teenagers still growing into their bodies in the very early stages of developing their skills. The Mets do have video content on YouTube of the DSL, but the video isn't great. All this is to say, outside of DSL players who receive big bonuses, it's hard to judge talent before they come stateside. With that being said, Mets folks and scouts the writer has talked to raved about the 19-year-old Amparo, saying he was one of the biggest surprises of the DSL season as he earned himself a spot on the All-Star team. He played a wide variety of positions last year: first base, second base, third base, shortstop, and all three outfield spots. He has the athleticism to be passable in multiple spots and has a plus arm. Offensively, he's already shown off power to the pull side and walked more than he struck out. His 138 WRC plus was among the best of the Mets minor leaguers in the DSL last season. His 67.3% pull percentage was the third highest out of 304 hitters last year in the DSL. Okay. At number 41, now these are players I've not seen. I don't know any of these kids. Catcher first baseman Josmir Reyes. The writer decided to keep going with players from DSL because the Mets had a good group of hitters there in 2025. After Reyes played in only 2 games during his first pro season 2024, he impressed in his first real taste of the minors with a 139 WRC plus and 50 DSL games last season. He's been very selective at the plate, as you can see by his minuscule 7.9% strikeout percentage from last year's 2.27 walk to strikeout was the 5th best in the league. Defensively, Reyes played 24 games at catcher, 11 games at first, and was the DH for another 14 games. Above average arms, the carrying defensive tool for a catcher who is still a work in progress in terms of blocking and receiving. Standout stat: the 19-year-old's 4.6 swinging strike percentage from last season was the 3rd lowest among 304 DSL hitters. So this is 46 to 41 the best prospects the Mets have in their system, according to this publication. The only guy I can really speak much of is Nate Lavender, is because I talked about him plenty times over the years. So all these other guys, all these other kids, so many years away. Who knows? They might not even make it. They might not make it past single A. And honestly, for some of these kids that are in Dominican Summer League, the next step is the Florida Complex League, and that's not a full season. That's about 60 games or whatever. And it's not a lot of time. So we'll keep an eye on it. Yordan Rodriguez is the most intriguing player because he's new to the organization. But you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to Prospect Hut, and I'll see you later.